Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Was Like Gaara, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Last time, Orochimaru smiled as Naruto ran towards him. Naruto's world seemed to appear as if in slow motion as Orochimaru opened his mouth. A large sword shot from his teeth, hitting him squarely in the chest. His body suddenly felt numb. He looked down to see blood had begun to ooze from the wound, and then the sword was pulled painfully from his chest, causing the blood to flow from his body like water from a broken dam. Naruto didn't even feel his body hit the ground. That had now become soaked in his blood. That thing that went through his mind before he lost all sense was, "Hinata, I'm sorry." Orochimaru laughed as he watched Naruto fall to the ground. His smile soon turned into a sneer as Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. "A shadow clone," said Orochimaru with mild surprise. Naruto soon appeared from the trees above him. His breath was heavy and labored from the chakra that he'd used up just to make the one clone. "Oh, what's the matter, Naruto, out of juice?" asked Orochimaru as he swung his sword at him only to watch it go right through him. "What?" said Orochimaru, as he pulled his sword from the fake Naruto. "A clone jutsu," he thought out loud. He then felt an immense pain shoot through his skull as Naruto roundhouse kicked him in the head, causing him to fly through two trees before stopping at a cracked third one that held the outline of his body. Orochimaru pulled himself from the tree looking relatively unharmed but very ticked off. "I'm impressed, Naruto. I never would have guessed that you still had so much chakra left to perform any jutsu whatsoever," said Orochimaru. Naruto's breath was slow and calm, but on the inside his body was screaming for a rest, as he felt like he was going to collapse right then and there. But he couldn't. He had to protect the village, not for their sakes, but for Hinata's. "Hinata, my only regret right now is that I probably won't get to see your smiling face again," he thought. He then drew a kunai from his holster. As Orochimaru placed his sword in his right hand, the two combatants ran at each other at inhuman speeds. There was a clash of steel as their weapons collided with one another. The air around them actually formed a sonic boom from the collision. They jumped back from each other, one not giving the other even a hint of an opening. Naruto did a set of hand signs, then ran at Orochimaru, who had preformed the same hand signs. They ran at each other. Naruto's right hand and Orochimaru's left hand were engulfed in flames. "Fire style, flaming fist jutsu," they shouted as the two collided once again. This time, however, Orochimaru was blown backwards by a sudden burst of chakra. He was sent flying in a twister-like motion before he was stopped by a rather large rock. His right arm was mangled beyond even his ability to heal. He pulled himself off the rock and fell to the ground with a soft thud. His right arm flung wildly as he got to his feet. What was that just now? He thought as he stared at Naruto, whose own arm was undamaged. Naruto smirked, knowing that his attack had worked. "What's the matter, Orochimaru? Can't seem to be able to use your arm?" he asked in a wicked, innocent tone. "What have you done to me?" shouted the enraged Sannin. "What's the matter, the all-seeing Sharingan, unable to copy that last attack?" asked Naruto as the smell of blood entered his nostrils. The blood acted like a stimulant to him, causing his once dormant bloodlust to resurface. Naruto's face then twisted into a slightly crazed grin. This grin sent a cold chill down Orochimaru's face. It was the kind of grin that foretold either a painful death or an agonizing defeat. Neither sounded good to him at this moment. Hey, ha, 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 ha. "Orochimaru, I will have your blood," shouted Naruto in a crazed state of mind. He then grabbed a second kunai from his pouch. Now having one in his right hand and one in his left, Naruto truly looked dangerous. "So, Naruto, this is your true self," said Orochimaru rather calmly. "Hey, yes, hey, I've finally left myself go," said Naruto sadistically as he started to sway from side to side slightly. Then a death glare appeared on his face as he raced towards Orochimaru. His eyes were fixed on those of the Sannins. He could see the fear that was starting to build in Orochimaru, and he enjoyed it. Orochimaru, think of this as a way for all the people you killed to get their revenge, said Naruto as he disappeared even from Orochimaru's sight. Then he reappeared, behind him and slashed him in the back. Orochimaru tried vainly to block the attacks with his right and as best he could. Naruto was just too fast for him. At times he could see the attacks coming but wasn't fast enough to counter them before they'd hit. Before long Orochimaru was sent hurtling through the air courtesy of a Naruto's uppercut. Once he was in the air, Naruto appeared above him, then axe kicked him straight towards the ground. His body was now completely shattered. Only his eyes could move. They followed Naruto as he drew closer and closer to him. Orochimaru's blood began to clot as what little color he'd had drained from his white face. Naruto's eyes were now blood red, his pupils were vertical SS, his whisker-like birthmarks were darker and thicker. His fingernails were so sharp they looked like claws. His canine teeth had lengthened to the point that they stretched a centimeter below his lips. Orochimaru opened his mouth wide as Naruto made to plunge one of his kunai into his chest. From within his mouth came once of his arms, then the rest of his body. He was now completely recovered. That is, except for his right arm. He doubted at that point he'd ever be able to heal it properly. Naruto merely smirked. So this is your famous healing technique, he said with relish in his voice as Orochimaru began to perform a set of one-handed hand signs. Only to stop as he watched his fingers become severed from his hand. He let out a deafening yell as blood spurted onto his white hand. He looked up at Naruto, who was wiggling one of his fingers. Orochimaru, don't need you performing that jutsu again, said Naruto, throwing Orochimaru's finger to the ground. He then took deliberately slow steps towards Orochimaru. The kunai in his right hand was now inches from slicing Orochimaru's tea. When Orochimaru opened his mouth and coughed something black into Naruto's face. Naruto screamed as steam issued from his face. Whatever it was eating his skin away, and was starting on his muscle. Naruto did a set of hand signs, then his right hand burst into flames. He pressed the flaming hand to his face within seconds. The black substance was burned off, leaving a raw-faced Naruto. He looked to see Orochimaru running at a slow pace through the trees. He took the kunai in his left hand and threw it with sly accuracy at Orochimaru. The kunai caught the shoulder part of Orochimaru's robes, sending him flying towards a tree in front of him. His body was in so much pain that he didn't have the strength to remove the kunai. Naruto appeared only a few feet away from him. A smirk appeared on his face. Hey Snake, I've just thought of the perfect jutsu to use on you, he said as his hands flashed through various signs. Wind style, wind blade vortex jutsu, said Naruto as the air around Orochimaru became a full-fledged twister. Soon bits of his F were sped from his body, causing him to yell as pain that he'd never experienced before ran through his body. Naruto smirked as he watched the blood begin to flow from Orochimaru's white hide. Naruto then released the jutsu only to begin another set of hand signs. Fire wind style, flaming vortex jutsu, said Naruto as Orochimaru's body was covered in a vortex of flames. The roar of the flames and the wind made Orochimaru's screams of pain inaudible to the human, or chakra-enhanced ear. Once Naruto thought he'd had enough, he released the jutsu to see that Orochimaru was still alive, but just barely. Naruto did one final set of hand signs. Wind style, vacuum vortex jutsu, he said as the wind around Orochimaru started to pick up. Within seconds, Orochimaru's entire body exploded, sending blood and guts, pieces of his parts of his brain all over the surrounding area. Naruto relished in his blood bath, and then he sat on the gore-ridden ground, as he began to calm down. It had been too long since he'd really let himself go. He enjoyed that quite a lot, and hoped that he'd get another mission like this one. He then let out a laugh that wasn't cold or chaotic, it was a warm laugh, a laugh that signified that the battle was finally over. He made to stand up. His body suddenly felt heavy. He soon found himself lying on the ground. It squelched as he landed on some part of Orochimaru. His eyes soon started to feel heavy also as his body began to shut itself down out of protesting the need for him to rest. This need, however, would have to wait a little longer because at that precise moment Naruto sensed someone approaching him. He forced himself to his feet as he got into a fighting stance, praying that it was only a leaf ninja. To his absolute horror, it wasn't a leaf ninja, it was Hinata and Kakashi ran above the rooftops of the village towards the area where they'd been fighting the snake. They'd just been informed that Naruto had killed Sakura and rushed to help out with the fight against Hachibi, but he never came back. What if he's severely injured? I don't think the Hokage will allow him to be treated this time, said Hinata in a worried voice. It is a law by the third Hokage that the hospital treat all who are injured even if they've been sentenced to exile, said Kakashi trying to comfort her. Akamaru gave a loud bark as a way to help him reassure her. He's right, and besides Naruto get injured, what are the chances of that? Even if the snake is a demon, don't forget Naruto's got the strongest one sealed in him, said Kiba with a slight grin. Hinata smiled and nodded. Why? Yes, why? Why? You're right, she said. Impossible, nobody could have survived that, said Naruto. His breath stung his chest as he breathed. His body felt like it was covered in lead weights that weighed about 1,000 pounds. What's the matter, Naruto? Look as if you've seen a ghost, said Orochimaru with a slight grin on his face. Naruto groaned. Let me guess, it was a transformation jutsu, said Naruto as he looked at the bloody remains of the first Orochimaru. Very good, Naruto, but sadly you figured it out too late. You've got nothing left, not even your insanity can help you, said Orochimaru drawing a kunai. Naruto's lips curled into a smirk. Oh, you think, huh? He said as he threw a kunai at Orochimaru, who dodged it accordingly. Then he threw 3 more. He kept on throwing until he was completely out of kunai. Orochimaru was virtually unscathed. You seem desperate, Naruto. Why is that? I thought that your demon kept you from getting tired, said Orochimaru. It was Naruto's turn to smile. He suddenly made a jerking motion and Orochimaru seemed to have become immobile. Gay? What is this? He shouted. Naruto smirked. A little trick I picked up from my time in exile. I originally used it as a way to catch fish for supper, but I think this will work just the same too, said Naruto. He then preformed a set of one-handed hand signs. Demon Fox style, invisible claw jutsu, said Naruto. He then slashed his hand down through the air, then Orochimaru let out a hiss of pain as 4 slash marks appeared on his right arm. Naruto repeated this act several times until Orochimaru was covered in the slashes, his blood soaked and mixed with the blood that was already lying on the ground. Once again, Orochimaru, goodbye, said Naruto as he suddenly collapsed. The air around Orochimaru shimmered as his jutsu was released. Poor little boy, you almost had me too, said Orochimaru drawing closer to Naruto. Naruto could hear his footsteps getting closer and closer, but there wasn't anything he could do. His body had been pushed to its limits and beyond. He was completely drained of all his chakra. Suddenly the sound of footsteps stopped. Naruto looked up to see Orochimaru smiling as he pulled a kunai from seemingly nowhere. This is the end for you, Naruto, said Orochimaru as he made to plunge the kunai into Naruto's chest. Naruto closed his eyes and awaited the kind of pain relief that only death could bring, but it never came. Instead he felt something warm and wet fall onto his face. He chanced a glance at the man above him, as the sound of birds shrieking filled his ears. Then a hand came into view. It was completely through Orochimaru's chest where his heart would have been. Naruto opened his eyes fully, then looked behind Orochimaru to see Kakashi standing behind him, with a hard snap. Kakashi threw Orochimaru's body to the side. Kakashi then turned his attention to the young man lying on the ground before him. Well, so how is a favorite, Jinchuriki, today? He asked as his mask curled around his face. He's been better, said Naruto. He then felt something heavy land on top of him. He looked at his chest to see it was Hinata, hugging him with all she had. Naruto could see tears stream down her face. He smiled and then, using the little strength that he had left, raised his arm to her head. She suddenly raised her head off his chest to look at him. He smirked for a second, then in a near whisper-like tone said, "Damn decent of you." This caused Hinata to chuckle slightly. Naruto sighed as he looked to the sky as the last of his strength finally left him. Darkness soon took his vision. "Hinata, I love you," was the last thing he'd said. Hinata watched in horror as the light in Naruto's eyes faded away, leaving a glossy stare that told her he was looking without really seeing. She then pressed her head to his chest and began to cry. Kiba turned away to hide his own tears while Akamaru let out a mournful howl that echoed throughout the village. "Naruto," said Hinata in a whispered tone, her voice muffled by Naruto's blood-soaked shirt. Kakashi wrapped a comforting arm around her shoulders, as a small stream of tears fell from his only visible eye. Last time. "Hinata, I love you," was the last thing he'd said. Hinata watched in horror as the light in Naruto's eyes faded away, leaving a glossy stare that told her he was looking without really seeing. She then pressed her head to his chest and began to cry. Kiba turned away to hide his own tears while Akamaru let out a mournful howl that echoed throughout the village. Naruto, said Hinata in a whispered tone, her voice muffled by Naruto's blood-soaked shirt. Kakashi wrapped a comforting arm around her shoulders, as a small stream of tears fell from his only visible eye. 1 year later, Hinata sat alone in the graveyard. It was a bright and sunny afternoon. The sound of birds whistling in the trees filled her ears, but she didn't really hear them. The only thing that she cared about was the grave she'd been staring at. Naruto Uzumaki. Born October 3, 1992. SD, July 5, 2008. Beloved student and friend. Tears fell from Hinata's face. It had been a full year since his death, and she still didn't know how to cope with the fact that she'd never get the chance to see his face again. She clutched a small photo in her hand. It showed her and Naruto. About 7 or 8 years old, both of them smiling. Hinata carried this around with her whenever she felt sad. She would look at the picture and that silly smile would somehow bring her some comfort. Hinata suddenly became aware of someone walking behind her. She turned to see Kiba with the bear-sized Akamaru following closely behind him. It's time to go, Hinata, we're already late, said Kiba solemnly. J, just A, L, little L, longer, said Hinata. Kiba sighed. Hinata, I think's it time you left go. He's gone now, it's time to move on. Besides, he wouldn't want you to. H, how W, would why, you know what he'd want? Asked Hinata angrily. Hinata, came a second voice. The two turned to see Kakashi was standing only a few feet away from them. It's alright, Hinata, you can take as much time as you need, said Kakashi. I wonder what he'd be like now, if he's happy where he is, said Hinata. Kakashi sighed. All we can do is have faith, and take comfort in knowing that we'll see him again someday, said Kakashi, placing his hand upon the gravestone. Obito, you make sure to show him the ropes, thought Kakashi. Hinata slowly got to her feet. Let's go, she said slowly before kneeling down and kissing the gravestone. Then the three ninjas disappeared in puffs of smoke. The three had made camp inside of an unknown forest. Their mission was to head to escort a representative from the land of grass to the land of snow. Hinata sat beside the fire waiting for her round of watch to be over so that she could get some sleep, not that she'd gotten much sleep lately. She kept having the same nightmare of Naruto's death. Her eyes began to droop as she tried to stay awake. The warm fire felt like a relaxing blanket that seemed to wash all of her cares away. Before she knew it, she was sound asleep. A ninja wearing a skin-tight black stealth suit made his way silently through the bushes and trees, causing not so much as a single leaf to hit the ground. He soon came upon his target. He noticed the woman was fast asleep. He looked to the tents, knowing one of them contained his quarry. He looked ahead from his position to see one of his partners staring him in the face. They both nodded silently to one another. Then they made their ways into the camp, one heading for the tents, the other for Hinata. Hinata found herself walking down a corridor. Beside her was Naruto, happy and well. He was wearing the exact same attire he'd worn the day he'd SD. Naruto, is it really you? She asked. Her voice had a hint of desperation. Naruto turned to her. He gave her a genuine smile. Yes, Hinata, it's me, but our time is short. You have to wake up now, said Naruto. But I don't want to, I want to be with you, said Hinata. You will someday, but that day is not today. Now wake up, he shouted. Hinata's eyes suddenly burst open. The ninja's kunai was millimeters from her tea. She threw her head back, seeing him in the groin, causing him to grunt in pain as he dropped the kunai. Hinata jumped to her feet. Her Byakugan was fully activated. Everyone, wake up, she shouted. There was another grunt from within the tents. Then Kakashi appeared with the man's partner knocked out cold. The man that Hinata had hit threw down a smoke pellet and made to escape, only to be caught in the jaws of Akamaru. The dog's teeth sunk deep into the F of the man's arm, threatening to break it if he even so much as twitched. Kiba appeared behind him and knocked him out as well. Kakashi then took some metal wire from his pouch and tied both men to a tree for later interrogation. Well done, Hinata, came a faint whisper in her ear. Hinata turned to see if anyone was there, only to see empty woodlands. Hinata, you alright? Asked Kiba. Hinata turned to Kiba and for the first time in months she smiled. Yes, I'm much better now, she said. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.